The wage gap in America between the top 1% and the middle class is $532,815 every single year. Now, that's a sizable difference, but people earn different amounts of money for many different reasons. In this video, my goal is to help you get in the best possible position to make more money. Simple as that. Also, I'm going to be giving away some cash to people who like, subscribe, and comment. So make sure to do that, and let's get into the video. Now, let's back up just a little bit. Where do these numbers come from? The top 1% in terms of income in America today is $597,815. Not bad. On the other side of the coin, the average middle class household income here in the US is $67,000 a year. That basically means two people working full-time jobs earning just under $17 an hour. That is based on multiple studies done here in 2022. Now you may ask, what's my credibility for filming this? If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Hayden. For the last 4+ years, I've been earning well over $597,000 and being in that top 1% in terms of income from my businesses. I've also been on the flip side of that where going to Chipotle was a conversation. So I've got a lot of great stuff for you in this video, but the problem with the people in the 1% of income in America is that they spend all of their freaking money.
I can afford that. 4 watch. Man, look, you see what my hat say?
Take a look at this. If the average statistic is $597,000 for income, you should be able to grow your net worth very rapidly. So explain to me why the top 1% in terms of net worth is barely over $1 million. What does that mean? That means people spend all of their money. They suck at saving and they're terrible at investing, which is not a good thing. We're going to talk more about that later. So what creates this wealth gap? If you're making $30 an hour and you want to double your income or triple your income, I can tell you right now that it's typically not a lack of hard work. In fact, I believe that people who earn less money actually work harder over the course of their lifetime because they have to do it and they don't have an option because they don't have a nest egg or cash flow coming anywhere else. I remember working construction where I was carrying 3 packets of shingles up a 30-foot ladder. That was hard work. I still work hard nowadays, but it's a different type of hard.
It's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care.
But I want to specify one thing here because this video can and will change your life, but you have to understand this one thing. If and when you decide to watch this video all the way through and finally take control of your personal finances, you are going to have to work harder than most people for a period of time. It's not something you have to do forever. Nowadays, I'm 22 and on paper, I'm considered retired, which just means I really only do the things that I want to do. I've been able to outsource just about everything else inside of my business. I work about half the time that I used to, and I'm just focused on new projects and investments, which is where I enjoy putting my time. Now, I get messages all day long of people saying, okay, well, this is all great information, but how can you actually shortcut this? How do you accelerate this path? And there's really only 2 shortcuts to speeding up your accumulation of wealth and financial independence. I'm going to share those with you at the very end of the video because first we have to go through how do you make a ton more money and then how do you reframe your mind in order to sustain that. Now let's break down money. Most people make their money by trading time with some sort of skill involved at different levels in exchange for money. A lot of people who are in the financial movement and whatever say, oh, never trade your time for money. But then how do you actually make money, right? For an example, flipping a burger is great. You can trade your time for money, but you can only do that to such a degree. There's only so much skill involved. However, if you learn the business model and then eventually you consult with franchisees and now you're billing out at $130 an hour, that's a little bit higher leverage. And we're going to talk about points of leverage in a moment. For an example, inside of my business, if people want to do consulting about how I built my company, my business, and people inside of our industry, I bill out at $1,500 an hour. So on the side, working maybe an extra 3 to 5 hours a week, I can make an extra 6 figures a year consulting with really cool people who want my opinion and expertise on their business. So while $1,500 an hour sounds crazy, there still is a limit to my income if I was to do that full time and didn't make money elsewhere. So the money formula that I want you to be able to hit here in the next 12 months is to get past the point where you are making at least $100,000 a year. You live on half of that. You take the other half to save and reinvest, not into an Airbnb, not into crypto or ETFs or any of that stuff. It needs to be something a little more high risk that has that high return, building skills, a business. It could be anything like that where your investment is actually going to yield you some results. So what's going to happen is you're going to start making more money and you can employ more points of leverage. You can start to hire other people. You can get some work off of your plate to focus on the stuff that really makes the money. And that's where points of leverage are created. Now, I don't want to just jump over the fact of how do you get to $100,000 a year. I think the easiest way to do that is to build a business or become a salesperson. Now, a business is going to sell one of 2 things, right? You have to sell something to make money. It's either going to be a product of any kind or a service. A product could be like our e-commerce course. My company under the e-commerce side of things, we have an education company. We have a training program. It's preloaded videos. We have a private group, stuff like that. That's a product, not a service. We've had advertising services where we manage things for clients. That's a service, right? So figure out the difference there. Figure out something you can offer in any industry. I'll give you a low-hanging fruit right now. creating media, specifically TikToks, short YouTube videos, all that stuff for brands that sell e-commerce products. Reach out to 500 of them, say, hey, for $1,000 a month, I'll make you one new little 30-second TikTok a day. You could get 10 brands very easily to pay you for that. Now you're making $100,000 a year. It sounds like I just skipped a step, but it's really that simple. It's not that hard. Now, the second way you could make money building off what I just said is sales. Find something to sell. Ideally, something digital over the phone where you don't have to be an in-person car salesman or a door-to-door salesman like I was back in the day. You can just sell stuff over the phone with inbound leads. So if you find a company that can give you leads and they say, hey, call this list of our customers, or here, we're going to fill up your calendar and schedule appointments. Then your only thing is going to be selling people. You don't have to actually find the people to sell, which is more marketing and advertising. Now, the third thing you could do, which is my absolute favorite, this is what I've done, built a little bit over a $20 million business over the last 5-6 years. In the e-commerce space specifically, you could start with drop shipping. That's a low capital startup business. As long as you have fast shipping times, you can totally sustain the business model, at least for a while, and you employ points of leverage. You're able to scale media. Videos go viral. You're able to spend money to get more customers. It's extremely scalable. This is how I've been making the majority of my money for the last 5.5 years. It's been incredible. And I'm able to scale those businesses and learn more, which then are skills I can bill out at $1,500 an hour, right? So I have a bunch of YouTube videos. If you want to learn more about the e-commerce stuff, feel free to browse around the channel. There's also a 90-day trial link on Shopify linked in the description. So instead of a 2-week trial, you get a 3-month trial. You can do that for $1. So those are some ways you can start making more money. Now we got to talk about your mind. Then, as promised, I'm going to give you those shortcuts to financial freedom and talk about how to employ leverage to really build wealth. And by leverage, I do not just mean debt. Forget that. Have you ever heard someone who didn't have a lot of money make fun of themselves for being broke? Like say it as a joke, like, oh, I can't do that. I'm so freaking broke. That right there is a trapped frame of mind. It's a very negative place to be, and it's very difficult to get out of. Oftentimes created by the people they surround themselves with. And just to be honest, we all have that one friend that we probably should spend less time with. You don't have to completely cut out everybody in your circle, but if there's people who make fun of themselves for being broke, they don't talk about prosperity and growing and doing new things, learning new things, they're always like negative and hating on new ideas, you don't necessarily have to cut them out, but holy moly, I hope you will remove yourself from that situation. Cut back on the amount of time you spend with them, because I'd rather be alone and spend time with nobody than be around the wrong group of friends, because it will drag you down. Remember, abundance up here in the mind equals choice. And when you have choice, you have freedom. On the other hand, scarcity and believing scarcity up here equals dependency. And when you're dependent on something, you start to resent it, right? That job, that's the only way you make money over time. Even if you used to like it or it wasn't too bad, you're going to start to resent it. And the problem is dependency equals control, of which you have none. So if you're scarce up here and you believe scarcity and you're saying all these terrible things, you're basically giving yourself no control. You're going to be completely overrun by either your real life boss or a fictitious boss of any kind up here in your head. You need to think abundance. You need to be around that. How can you do it? Eliminate all the bad friends, listen to podcasts and read books that uplift and inspire you, that talk about growing and the opportunities, because there's so much money in this world. And there's not even just talking about money. There's so many amazing things you can experience, right? I learned that at a very young age because I started to realize it. I made $72,000 in a weekend in net profit when I was 17. My world changed forever. I just saw a light. I saw everything change, and it wasn't even about the money. Just everything changed. So that's where I really got the abundance mindset from. So you have to put yourself in a position to create abundance. Now, at the same time, we are always our own biggest bottleneck in almost every situation. It's usually not a lack of skill. Like the reason my business was stuck at about $70,000 a month in net profit for a year was because of me. It was my own limiting belief, and I wasn't willing to do an action that immediately put me above $100,000 for that whole next year. I never dropped below it. So I added 30% in profit to my business by making one change that I should have made previously, but I was in my own way. It wasn't a lack of skill. It wasn't somebody else I even needed to hire. It was me. It was only me. And I'm the person stopping me right now from getting to $1 million a month, which is the goal. So it may sound a little cheesy, but please take inventory with the friend group that you have, the people you spend the most time with. You might need to make some adjustments. You can do that slowly over time, but also take inventory of what you're listening to and the things you're watching. TV, general news and media, social media. You got to be very careful with these things. I believe nobody should be on social media unless you're a creator. You don't want to be stuck in there as a consumer. But anyways, here's how real wealth gets created. Employing different points of leverage is how it's done. And leverage is found in 3 different ways: leveraging other people's time, leveraging other people's money, and leveraging media, which is my favorite. Right now, if this video gets 10 views versus 10,000, there's absolutely no difference in how much effort I put into it. That is a point of leverage. It's scalable media. You can do this with content for an e-commerce business, content for your service-based business. I've done this over and over and over, and my businesses have done well over $20 million in sales. Like, it just sounds crazy even saying it over the last 5 years. I'm 22. That shouldn't be allowed, but nonetheless, it happened. Now, the fastest is other people's time by redeploying your own money. So for an example, the fastest way that I've been able to scale my business and get stuff off of my plate is using the money that I'm making from my business to reinvest into hiring people. That started with virtual assistants, and then it moved into a part-time employee. Next thing I know, I had an office and I had an actual payroll with a W-2 employee and got all that stuff set up. So it's been a slow process of building a team to the point where now they individually do each of their tasks 100 times better than I ever could if I was trying to do all of them. Now, as I look back over my business career, the one thing that I really regret is not reinvesting more money into the business, specifically the growth of scaling media and hiring people. I should have been doing more of that, but instead, I'm a very security-driven person, and while I don't deeply regret what I did, I took millions of dollars off the table that could have gone back into growing the business, and I put those into very safe, very secure real estate investments. Well, now I'm retired at 22, which doesn't mean that I just don't work, but I would have a much bigger business right now, and I'd be making a lot more money and worth a lot more money had I just put the money back into the business. It would have been higher risk though. And so media is a very fun one, and I highly suggest that you start that right now, regardless of if you're like, oh, well, I don't have a personal brand or a business. Just start, because money flows to eyeballs. Money flows to attention. If you're somehow getting 1 million views on every TikTok, I guarantee you that brands will be finding a way to reach out to you saying, hey, well, please let us pay you to promote something. So money will just find you. For an example, take Charli D'Amelio, an 18-year-old TikToker who just over the last 2 years has had an absolutely meteoric rise to fame. And last year, she made $17 million in profit.
No shit.
Go us.
And you want to know the secret on how she's been able to do that? By leveraging media and scaling her content. Her getting 100 views versus 100 million on a video doesn't change her input at all, but it definitely changes her output with these major brands coming to do multi-million-dollar sponsorships. That's how she's been able to scale her content and employ leverage inside of her business. It is a business. Now, what's crazy is I even started multiple TikTok pages that I have employees handling. We're getting millions of views every single day. We figured out the type of content that works. We figured out the algorithm, and now we're crushing it. So now we're scaling that, dumping more money back into the system. It's the same thing. I'm going to give you the best example anybody could ever give. Take Kylie Jenner, one of the youngest billionaires to exist. Now, her family was famous before, and you could argue about self-made or this or that. Nonetheless, she has still leveraged fame to grow even bigger, even if she was already born with it. She started Kylie Cosmetics, a massive company. Think about this for a second. Kylie Cosmetics isn't better cosmetics. It's Kylie. That's why it's better. Right? A personal brand is such a powerhouse when it comes to marketing. That's why she's able to sell these things for such a big markup and make insane profits. Now, my friends, as promised, the 2 shortcuts to get to financial independence. I call it kind of the stress-free zone, where you can choose to do what you want to do. I don't have to do the crap that I used to do because I'm retired on paper. I have that financial independence. Here's the 2 ways you can do that. And by the way, it'd mean a lot to me if you just like, subscribe, and comment. That'll also enter you into the giveaway, where I'm going to pick a couple winners. I always send out cash in every video, some free courses and free consulting calls. I do a lot of fun stuff. So that'd mean a lot to me if you did that and entered there. The 2 points of shortcut leverage, basically, that you could get. Number 1 is going into an existing business or an existing system and adding value. So finding a partner who maybe is running an e-commerce store, but doesn't have a ton of great experience, but they're already off the ground. They have a good product. They have a store. So that can just fast track it. The second one is living on a lot less than you make, because every dollar that you save will in fact give you more points of leverage. Because if you make $40,000 a year right now and you spend 30, if you spend 20 instead, that extra $10,000 will go such a long way when it comes to reinvesting into your business and scaling and hiring other people down the road. So you're able to do things faster and make more money quicker and quicker. And again, that's why I wish I would have invested more money back into my business. Now, it was spitting off cash flow left and right, which was just amazing. It was a crazy experience. Nonetheless, I should have and could have scaled further. 100%. There's always ways I could have optimized. So live on less than you make and use that money. Don't let it sit. Don't buy a car. Use the money to grow your income, because that is your most powerful wealth building tool, just like our friend Dave Ramsey says. And he's right. But those are tactical things. The real shortcut is just be careful who you listen to. Get off mainstream media. Don't listen to the news. Only be on social media if you are a creator, not just a consumer. And be very, very careful what opportunities you pursue in terms of putting your time into, because you can't get that time back. You can get rich. It is possible. And I believe in you. Even if you don't believe in you yet, I believe in you. Okay, with that being said, please be sure to subscribe. I'm also going to be sending out some cash and fun resources to people who comment down below. So make sure to do that. You can also follow me over on Instagram. I post a lot more there behind the scenes every single day. It's also a good spot to ask me a question. Maybe if you want to ask something in private, my DMs are always open. I do my best to get back to them as quickly as possible. So I would love to have a chat with you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one.